Welcome everybody to the Mintma podcast today. I'm joined by my buddy Jason. These are actually like the same words you always use, so it's interesting for me to be able to kick off the podcast today. I know you've been a little sick lately. Hope you're doing good, buddy. How is things over in the United States?
Things are good, man. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear the crazy little sickness in my voice. It's been an interesting few days not being able to sleep. Allergies going crazy. It's that time of the year here, and summer is just around the corner. So we're kind of coming up on the end of spring here in Arizona. And this week we're supposed to get into the triple digits. So it's going to be 100 plus degrees for about 3 or 4 days in a row, which will be our first taste of triple digits this year. But yeah, things are good, man. How about you? How's things out your way?
Things are great over here. It's actually pretty bad weather in Germany for like this time of the year. Um, when you talk about degrees, you have to remember our European listeners. You know, we have no idea what you're talking about when you say three digits. So, but I guess you mean like it's getting hot. That's what I actually think about Arizona. It's probably always very hot in the summer. Um, but yeah, crypto wise, it wasn't like a very spectacular week this time, unfortunately. I mean, we have like the sideways movement still ongoing. Bitcoin just broke 69 again, might be back at 67 tomorrow, so we don't know. But yeah, have you seen anything important that we needs to be mentioned?
I think there's a lot of little things happening from just undertones in the market. I mean, I know that you kind of saw me jump into some different spaces last week, like different artist spaces, different sort of developer founder spaces. And then, of course, the ETH ETF, a lot of companies are resubmitting to make sure that their forms actually match the specifications. So that's going to start trading soon. Bitcoin was up over 70 again, I think last week. And, so there's a lot of little things kind of happening and bubbling under the surface. And I think with, at least here in the States, toward the end of May, 1st of June, school is out. A lot of people start taking vacations. And you have that old adage, which I think you mentioned in another podcast, which, traders would sell in May and go away. And that was like back in the day when they would literally sell stocks and then, go out to their beach houses for the next 2 or 3 months and then come back in the fall. But I think with crypto trading 24/7 worldwide, that's not necessarily the case. And I feel like the attitudes toward several things are changing. So like meme coins to NFTs to Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, I think it's becoming more and more evident to the average person now that you've got a Bitcoin ETF that's been trading for a couple months and the ETH ETFs are approved. I think there's an undercurrent sort of building in the general populace that this stuff is here to stay. And it's going to be interesting to see if more and more people start to adopt it faster now that every time they look at, financial television, there's a ticker for Bitcoin or there's soon to be a ticker for Ethereum. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, just a bunch of little things sort of all at once.
Yeah, we also have down under Australia is actually starting the trading of the Bitcoin ETF tomorrow. So it's going to be Monday, no Tuesday, the June 4th, and and then we have the you mentioned it already, the Ethereum ETF starting trading. Like it's not sure like when it's going to start, but it's expected like by the end of June. So you already mentioned it, like I think in the call we had before, but the Ethereum ETF looks like it actually attracts more of the investors because it's going to have a bigger effect on the whole crypto market in terms of like other altcoins having the opportunity to get an ETF and everything. So do you think like there are going to be like a couple of more altcoins getting that ETF, and in the end it's going to stay like that? Or do you feel like there is actually some kind of possibility that like Dodge or Shiba Inu is going to have an ETF.
Yeah, I don't know about Doge or Shiba. I mean, they're large market cap tokens, but I think for sure you're going to see a Solana one come up in the very near future. I mean, really, there's a bit of a rivalry between Solana and Ethereum. And so if Ethereum gets one and they solve the staking issue, which was the big problem, because again, ETFs normally hold assets that don't pay a dividend or some sort of cash flow. And Solana is kind of in that same boat. Solana pays, staking fees or a staking return. And so I feel like now that Ethereum has basically been cleared, Solana is not far behind. So for sure, Solana. The rest of these things, I don't know. I think most of these tokens basically just end up going away. I honestly don't see there being much of a use case for any of them. And so I feel like ultimately over the next 5 to 10 years, you probably see a huge market consolidation, where people just start dropping to the tokens and to the chains that are actually the most useful in the real world. And I don't see, Shiba doing anything that you can't do with another chain, or, same thing with Doge. Like, why would I bother with Doge when I could do something else on a chain that's more robust and, that sort of thing. So to me, I just see a lot of consolidation in the future. And the only other option really would be, like a lot of cross-chain activity. And so then you run into the sort of, I guess you'd say, the friction of trying to write code to make sure everything is cross-chain. And so why would you do that if you could just basically use a chain that already does what you want to do? So I feel like there's going to be consolidation and or cross-chain, but my initial leanings is over time, just lots and lots of consolidation to the major chains.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because when you check the market cap of like Bitcoin, for example, now I think it's somewhere at like 1.3 trillion, and people expect it to go a lot higher, like even like 10 times that high. And when I hear people speak about like other altcoins, and like everyone is going to get an ETF, every coin is going to make 1,000x in the bull run, or 100 or 20 or 30, whatever. But everyone is like acting like everything is going to go up. And you know i, I always wonder, like, you need to get that liquidity from somewhere. Like, when you look at the market cap of the whole crypto market right now, we are already at the top from the last cycle. And Bitcoin is pretty high again, which is definitely making like the major part of the crypto space. But there is, like, in terms of capital and liquidity, um, it needs to be provided by someone. And that's why we cannot have like 500 ETFs and everything is going to the moon. I mean, yeah, the Fed can print, but they're probably not going to print that fast. So yeah, that's why I think it's in the end it's going to be impossible for every coin. As you mentioned, like, most of them are probably going to go to like to zero, and then there will be some kind of consolidation, and people will focus on the big 5 to 10 coins, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think you're spot on. You bring up the liquidity piece, and that's exactly it. I mean, there's only so many dollars floating around the world, so many euros, so many whatever, depending on what country or jurisdiction you're in. And that has to be both useful in the real world and investable. And so there's only a certain percentage of that that's investable, and at the end of the day, the printing cycle is not a solution, because if you think liquidity is going to come from, like central bank printing, then you're just diluting your purchasing power through inflation, which doesn't help anyone. So, at the end of the day, crypto was sort of your way out, and if liquidity came to crypto by way of printing, then that just basically puts you back into the same system, and it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, why would you want to own Bitcoin if it's not worth anything, or Solana or Ethereum or any of the rest of them, if the purchasing power that you're holding there continues to go down? Like, the idea is that as central banks print and liquidity comes into the marketplace via inflation, that you can sort of cushion yourself from that. So the liquidity piece is real. I don't think a lot of people consider that. Like we were talking earlier about like Dogcoin. And you were asking me if I saw like the most recent all time highs at, what did you say, like 860 million or something like that? I forget, whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And like the big push is to get it to 1 billion and then get it listed, and Leonidas is pushing, hey, today is really important, and my response is, what about tomorrow? Like, I mean honestly, what about tomorrow? Like, we can push it to 1 billion, but then what? Who gives a shit? Like, what happens at that point? And I mean, the answer is really nothing. Like, why would I hold that when I could hold Bitcoin? Like, why would I hold something that rides on Bitcoin when I could hold Bitcoin? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of these tokens just go to zero, not only from lack of use, but from just, I'm not going to put my liquidity to work on some garbage token.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And regarding the liquidity, I mean, if you look at the NFT space in general, even at its like peak times, you could already see, like, whenever a project pumped, it was actually like just a shift of liquidity. Like I remember people like in Discord saying like, "Hey, unfortunately, I have to sell a piece here because I want to mint something else," and then project had some kind of hype and a lot of liquidity ran into it, and then people sold again, and some people made money, some people lost money, and this was like the big cycle going on all the time. And that's what, like, people often forget, that when you talk about like creating a project on like the NFT market, and you have to see that the amount of people and the amount of buyers is actually always the same. Like, especially in a bear market, it's not that a lot of new buyers come into the markets, and yeah, that's why it's like the logical result that funds just flow from one project to the other, and there's not much new stuff coming in, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, we talked about this, I think, a few times. Until the market itself expands, and by market I mean the buyers in the market, the people, the average person who participates in the market, until that person or that population is expanding, you have the same amount of dollars or the same amount of wealth chasing an ever expanding number of goods, right? And when the supply goes through the roof and the demand stays the same, then that drives all the prices down. This is what we talk about in the NFT market a lot. And so, one of the things that we've done with Goodfellas is limit our availability to a small number of people and start looking for real collectors, people who want to be here for a long time and build wealth over, the course of years, not minutes. And, there's no hard fast rule as to how this is going to happen, or how everything plays out, but supply and demand is real, and you cannot have a non-scarce asset floating around in a pool of the same amount of capital and have it become more valuable. It just doesn't work that way. And so when you're when you're saying, like, people, well, I want to sell this project and I want to go mint that project, it's like, what? That makes no sense. Like, why did you mint in the first place? What are you doing here? You're like, obviously people are not thinking past the moment, and when you're dealing with that, it makes no sense. So I think the way out is kind of what we've been talking about with Goodfellas, and that is to build campaigns that bring in the average person who are not in the market yet but are interested and want to learn. And it's going to be on us to create that education and to start bring people in. That's one of the reasons behind the podcast. And just prior to the podcast, we were having our meeting, we were talking about ad campaigns to bring in other collectors and that sort of thing, and doing direct response marketing campaigns. And I think this is ultimately what's going to help the average person kind of come into the market, is people who are willing to take the time to explain to them, hey, this is how this works. And, those of us who are willing to do that, I think we're contributing to the market growing, which ultimately, brings more buyers or holders into the marketplace. And, I think at the same time, with prices of assets coming down, like in the NFT market, that prevents or discourages other founders from creating new projects just at random. And so we can start to shift that supply and demand curve. And when that happens, then you can stabilize, and you don't have what you were talking about earlier, which is the same number of people chasing an ever expanding number of goods. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, I feel like once we start onboarding new people to the space, especially with like ads and everything, I feel like we need to teach people like right from the beginning the values and like what's important in this space, you know, because I don't want to onboard new people and then, you know, like let them move to the next shitty project and buy into that, hoping to get like another dollar, because we've been focusing on getting quality people into our project for so long. It's interesting because I actually have a contact on my Discord, and this is actually a member from the old Art of Mob Discord, and I've been talking to him a lot, even like back then. I know he's from a third world country and doesn't really have like a lot of financial resources, and I remember back then I even gifted him some Art of Mob NFTs and stuff like that. And yeah, he just recently reached out and said like, "Hey man, I want to. I got like a free mint for another project, and I want to mint that. And can you help me out with the mint fees and everything?" And that was actually the second time, because like the first time he wrote me, he was actually asking for, I don't remember how much it was. I think like point 0.5 or point 0.3 Sol, and I was like, "Dude, you're actually not even trying to," because he knows that I'm like part of the founders team of the Goodfellas, and I felt like, "Dude, you're not even trying to get into my project here, what I'm like working for, but you're trying to mint some other shit just to make like a quick buck." And that's actually when I realized how important it is to onboard like quality people, because whenever we talk to our people, you see that it's like, do you say different breed, or is it like just for dogs? I'm not sure now.
No, that's right. It's a
Um,
different breed. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it's a different breed compared to other NFT projects. And I'm not in like a lot of servers, but whenever I go into another server, I feel like I'm like on like the kindergarten, you know, like people behaving like little kids, and immaturity everywhere. And yeah, I'm very very happy with our community still, and I'm very proud of what we've built so far.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously, we have a long way to go. We're certainly not perfect, and we've got a lot of learning to do yet. But the cool thing is, like when we're having conversations, we're focused on these types of solutions, the ones to the problems that you kind of laid out. And when you're talking about like the same money chasing the same number of goods, or someone coming to you that you've actually helped, saying, "Oh, help me," get into someone else's project. That's like this sort of ungratefulness, or like you said, immaturity that you would never ever find in the real world, at least not with someone you would actually interact with. And so these are one of the this these are some of the activities or some of the ideas and concepts that keep good people out of the market. And so not only is, Goodfellas doing its best to find, quality holders, but, we're doing our best to educate people around what a quality, interaction with someone who's, related to money in some way, shape, or form looks like. Like it should be above board. There should be, a commitment level. There should be proper motives. There should be proper value system in place. And in the absence of that, you really have nothing. You have what you were talking about, where, servers are filled with children who are basically just there because they spent daddy's money and they want to, flip for a hamburger and call themselves a trader. And it's just ridiculous. And so, there's no wonder why, the average investor hasn't taken something like an NFT market very seriously. It's got a long way to go. And so I think, obviously we talked about this in the past, we're at the beginning of the adoption S curve. So we have this massive opportunity to start creating education around this that can live on our website, that can sort of bring people into our ecosystem and start educating them around what to look for. And I think the more that we can do that, again, we live up to our name and our value system, which is, being good people and bringing good people to the market.
Yeah, definitely. So if you guys listening, if you see any Twitter ads coming from the Goodfellas, you know what we are trying to do. Um, I know we do not usually look at the stock market, but there was actually a pretty big thing happening today, and all of, like X is talking about that a lot, like a lot of people, because we had like a little, was it like a glitch on the New York Stock Exchange? People claim that they were able to buy, for example, the Berkshire Hathaway stock for around $200. It was actually showing that it traded at that price, but a lot of people said that they tried to buy and yeah, that they had open orders and everything, but they weren't able to get a piece. Um, but there are also some accounts, and you're never sure. You can never be sure if these do not just want to like um, to have these clickbait postings and trying to farm engagement. But some actually said that they were able to buy at these prices, and I think a couple minutes or like half an hour later, the price went back to over 600,000. And yeah, people claiming that they've made huge amount of profits. And it's actually interesting because um, you and I we've been talking a lot about how spoiled crypto people are with the gains we can actually make, and now we have crazy things like that happening in the stock markets, and we had the GameStop stock also that made like insane profits. We had the Nvidia stock making huge profits and gains. So, what do you think? Are we going to change crypto for stocks in the future?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think crypto is a form of stock already. I think one of the challenges that you see with the tokens and coins and all this, that, and the other thing is that when you buy a token or a coin or what have you, it comes with a chain. Like it comes with a technology basically. So I already think of it as like you're buying stock in some form of company. And I feel like that's the reason that so many governments around the world have sort of shit on crypto because in a way people are selling securities, which is what a stock would be, for example, or an ETF is a security. People are basically selling securities illegally, I mean, and so from that standpoint, you can kind of understand the argument. Like you're asking for an investment to build a thing, which is exactly what a IPO or an initial public offering would be for a company, right? You're trying to raise money so you can hire people and build out this idea. And that's all that's happening in the crypto world. That's all that's happening in the NFT world. It's all the same stuff. And so I think we already have it. And I think that ultimately what happens is, with as many failures as we've had in this marketplace, whether it's NFTs or tokens or just plain out rugs where people have taken money from coin sales and run, like whatever that is, these sorts of things, if the market is to grow and mature, these sorts of things are the things that we have to keep an eye out for and make sure that we don't participate in. And, if the average person is coming in off the street and seeing all this FOMO and, buying into this thing and then they get screwed and then we run them off, then we're doing the wrong thing. We're not, allowing that market to grow. We're not showing them the beauty of the technology and what it could potentially be used for. So I think, ultimately we have the stock idea already. It's just that we also have it associated with way too many bad actors. And, it kind of feels good to be one of the good actors in the space, but by the same token, we have to do a lot of explaining because people don't get it, and kind of like on the Twitter thread the other day where people were accusing us of like stealing artwork, which is the exact opposite of what we've done here. And now I have to explain it, because they haven't been paying attention, and that's okay. But at the same time, the attention span in the marketplace for the existing population is so short. It's like, I'm going to mint this and sell it, or I'm going to buy this token and sell it. They're not really concerned with the story. They're just like, can I make some money? And so this whole incentive structure is upside down. So from the stock piece to the rug piece to the incentive structure, we've got the stock idea in play, but man, we're just executing it very, very poorly.
But do you think in the near future, like maybe looking at the crypto space in 4 to 5, maybe to 10 to 20 years, that like when all the scams are gone and crypto will be like more regulated, that it will be comparable, or that it will maybe even like kind of like united with the stock market?
I could see that happening. Yeah, and apologies, my little allergy slash cold thing is acting up here. Give me 2 seconds. Excuse me. Yeah, I can definitely see that happening because basically the way I'm looking at it right now is if I'm holding NFTs for Goodfellas, for example, I basically consider that a pretty piece of stock, right? Like back in the day when you bought stock in a company, you bought a share of stock in a company, you were issued a certificate, you were issued a paper certificate that had, some form of seal on it, some form of writing on it. And as long as you held that share, that physical piece of paper, you could prove ownership of that stock. The challenge was that if someone stole it from you, then now they could run off and sell your stock to someone else and take your profits. And so I think with the advent of the modern stock market, like the NASDAQ or the NYSE or, pick one around the world, they're all digital now. So really the only thing missing is a connection to digital stock, connecting digital stock to a token, which is, what we've talked about before is like the beginning of tokenization. Like, why wouldn't we just tokenize that piece of stock and have someone sit on it in their wallet or in their account? Then we basically have that. We've bridged the gap there. We've created this association between the two. And the only thing lacking is someone connecting those two dots. So I think it's only natural that happens. And being here early, I feel like we have an opportunity to participate in a lot of this transition.
And where do you see, like, when you say that you see the transition coming or possible, where do you see that the NFT space compared to that? Like, do you see like a possibility, like even if it's just a low percentage, but do you see the possibility of the NFT space being completely gone in the future?
Um, the NFT space completely gone. No, I think the NFT space expands. Honestly, I think if tokenization is to exist and become what we think it will be, we may not have an NFT market the way that it looks like today, where you're just trading NFTs on Magic Eden or OpenSea or whatever your favorite platform is. I think that the NFT world expands into other things. So let's say, for example, we get to that world where stocks, where digital stock certificates, right, become NFTs, for example, right? Like we get to that place. Well, now you might have an artwork project on Magic Eden or OpenSea, but you also might have NFT versions of stock trading on the NYSE or the NASDAQ or whatever your favorite exchange is. I don't see that going away. I see it expanding and maybe taking on different forms because tokenization is useful, and we really haven't figured out a way to convince the old guard, like the old guys trading stock, or the old real estate agents, for example. Like there's a company called Proppy that's already tokenizing home addresses, right? So that you can basically escape. In the States, we have, when you buy a piece of real estate, the way that you're guaranteed title to the real estate is you have a company called a title company that guarantees chain of custody of that title to you. And then you pay like $600, $1,000, $1,200, whatever they charge to get this guaranteed title, right? Which is kind of ridiculous because blockchain can do that, right? So I think you see NFT property titles, and I think it just continues to expand into other markets and maybe look different, and again, maybe these things don't trade on Magic Eden or what have you, but they take different forms in different markets and trade in different places. And I feel like if the theory behind tokenization is real and the use cases are real, then I think that's what has to happen.
Yeah, but where do you talked a lot about like real estate and tokenization? So where do you think art goes?
That's a good question. I mean, honestly, the artwork market is based, like the real world artwork market is based on story, and it's based on reputation, it's based on provenance, right? All the same things that digital artwork success is based on. Like you have a piece of artwork put out by a particular artist, whether you know the artist or not, there's a story or there's a sort of a genre that this artist has attached himself to or herself to, and they produce in the space, and you either like the story and the art or you don't. In the same way that that artwork exists in like traditional NFTs, you could very easily have that artwork exist as a piece of stock. Like it really doesn't limit anything. I think actually it opens more doors. Like imagine, like today, for example, you mentioned the Berkshire Hathaway stock dropping from $620,000 to like $200 or whatever as a glitch on the trading floor. I think it was 50 stocks in total that were affected. So they stopped trading on it or whatever. But imagine you have this $620,000 share of Berkshire Hathaway that you own. Okay, that's fantastic. You can actually take physical possession of the stock certificate, or you know what? Imagine you hold that same piece of stock on a crypto exchange or in a wallet where not only do you have the stock, but you have this beautiful representation of art that symbolizes that share of stock, right? Like if you look at money, for example, dollar bills or $100 bills or euros or whatever, if you look really closely at the bills, there's always very intricate artwork tied to those dollars or those euros or whatever. And so mankind has traditionally, over the course of centuries, ever since coins were created, they've put artwork on their money. So it only makes sense that you would carry that through to something that represented wealth, like a piece of stock certificate. And in fact, if you pull up some of the old pictures of stock certificates, you'll see really beautiful drawings and really intricate etchings of artwork on those certificates. So I could just see, rather than you having to walk around with a stack of stock certificates that had pictures on them and your name, like back in the early 1900s, you just walk around and in your wallet, you've got all these shares of stock. And now not only are they shares of stock, but they're beautiful pieces of art. So I could totally see that happening.
But wouldn't that mean that, the art is actually like just some kind of add-on to something else and is not like standing like it's kind of losing its value because, it's just like, hey, you got that certificate and you get like some additional art here. So that would be cool or is cool, but that kind of takes something away, like the focus from the art, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, artwork has different purposes, right, in different marketplaces. So in our project, for example, it is about art. It is about licensing. It's about IP rights. And so there's a heavy focus on the artwork itself, but also the relationship of the user to the artwork. Like how am my relationship to the artwork is what forms the idea of property, right? So ownership means I actually have a relationship with this thing. And so if I'm looking at a stock certificate or a dollar bill or what have you, the artwork on that is not necessarily meant to be the primary focus. In a lot of cases, the artwork was meant to prove whether or not it was counterfeit. Like the artwork was so intricate or the etchings were so detailed that the average person couldn't duplicate it. And so the artwork in that scenario took on a different meaning. So in different contexts, the artwork could be the focus or not, but it could always have a different meaning or a different use case.
Yeah, get that. Totally makes sense. Yeah, talking about NFTs, we actually have some things coming up as well, so we should maybe dive a little bit into the Goodfellas project. Um, First of all, the batch mint is coming up, and you were in the progress of creating these beautiful pieces. So yeah, what's the progress here?
Yep. So we've got batch number 6 on the go. The pieces have already been created, and right now I'm in the process of basically adding some traits to keep it fresh, but also creating a one of one. And so my target on that is to have it done this week. And if we can have it done this week, then we should be minting next week. I think we set a tentative date of the 12th. And so that's where we're at with that. And of course, if the bosses, any bosses listening to this, or anyone who's joining the project, if holding a boss, we've basically grandfathered 10-cent mints in for all the bosses from here on out due to the price rise in Sol. And so this is going to be another opportunity for bosses to really whale up. And so it's going to be really cool to see the next mint come out. And then, as we've talked about, as we get closer and closer to that 1,000 piece mark, we're going to start opening up more and more to the public and doing more of the ad campaigns and the direct response marketing that we've talked about. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I've got a couple ideas I haven't really shared with anyone yet, so I hope to wow you guys with the next art drop.
Yeah, I'm curious for that as well. Usually I get like the sneak peeks like right on mint day as well. Like I get the one of one. I'm always very very stoked to see these pieces. But yeah, Jason's not showing like no look into his work before it's done. So yeah, looking forward to what you're going to do. And yeah, you mentioned it. Bosses will have 10-cent mints forever. This is something we already mentioned in the spaces last time. We'll have an official announcement about that as well. And yeah, keep an eye on what NFTs and what parts of your family you already have. Like make sure to build your family of 100. Get every We got connoisseur. What consigliere? It's a little difficult for me to pronounce the English words because it's pronounced so differently in German. So maybe you can list the different types we have in the family.
Yeah, for sure. So the bosses, underbosses, consiglieres, uh, capos or capos, depending on your pronunciation, and then soldiers and associates. And then a complete family is having one of the upper ranks, 5 capos, and then the rest of the family is filled in with soldiers and associates in any particular order. And so if you have that, then you would be able to claim the status or have what we're calling a complete family. In other words, a whole organization. And so for those of you guys who know, if you've claimed an area and named your boss, you've picked up those two one of one traits, then you can basically have a boss with two one of one traits and a whole family assigned to that boss, and you've got a complete organization. And we're going to be doing some cool things with organizations in the future in and around the business use cases that we ultimately decide to enter into. So building the family is like the big target, or should be the big target of every boss that's part of the project.
Definitely, this is basically like the end game. This is most valuable role that people will get in our Discord. This is like when you finish like a video game and you get like 100% and you get a trophy for that. This is what people need to achieve. And yeah, looking forward to that. You mentioned it's batch number 6, and we are planning to onboard new people with the upcoming batches as well. So I mentioned it before. It's possible that you see an ad or two on X in the near future. And then we also have an artist incubator drop coming. We have not really decided 100% on the date yet, but it's most likely going to be June 21st. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. The piece that is going, it's still a little time until the drop is going to happen. But just to give you an idea, the piece is like fitting very good to the like into the collection, because like if you have seen the power piece that we already published, you will realize or notice that once the second piece drops, that it's actually like a perfect, like it perfectly fits into the idea that Daria had. Um, and yeah, really looking forward to that one as well. I just need to remember how this second piece looks. Yeah, don't want to spoil people here, but I think it's like my second favorite piece from the collection that is about to drop. And um, Yeah, looking forward to that. What do you say?
Yeah, man, let's go. I mean, we got to keep building, right? Like, just like we said from the beginning, we got a lot of work to do, a lot of artists to reach out to, lots of artwork to come, tokenization. I mean, there's just no end to the amount of work that's sitting on our plates. So each step forward, for me is a win. And the fact that we're still here after all the trials and tribulations, 9 months into basically the new mint of this project. August will be the first year since our mint, and looking forward to many, many more years of growth and use cases, like really, really high quality use cases, and working with high quality people in the space. And so, I mean, we're really at the infancy of this thing, and I'm excited to continue to see it grow. So that's all I got for you, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I posted it today on X that we are building the biggest art gallery on chain, and this is it. This is the vision. This is what we are working on, and this is what I always have in mind talking to artists, that we want like the best of the best, that we want diverse art and everything, and yeah, looking forward to like when I think about like in a year or two, and I imagine like what you see when you go to Magic Eden and type in like Goodfellas Artist Incubator, and all these beautiful pieces that will be available for people. And yeah, this is like like when you have that in mind, and you have that um, like how is it called? Is it like self-fulfilling prophecy? If you keep like envision it and think about it, how it's going to be, and believing in it. I'm not sure if it's the right term, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like manifesting, like you're manifesting your vision.
Yeah, manifesting. That's what I was looking for exactly. Yeah.
That's it, brother.
Um,
That's exactly it. That's the exciting part.
that's
Like
it.
when you see it start to come together.
Definitely. So yeah, looking forward to all that. Looking forward to the batchment, and looking forward to Spaces on Friday. This will be the last Spaces before we have the next drop, and this should be it for today. So I think we got some interesting topics today. Do you have anything else? I think you was good, right?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. And just to tie up the loose end of what the temperature would have been at triple digits, 100 degrees Fahrenheit is 37.77 degrees Celsius. So whatever that translates to is pretty warm.
100. Yeah, that's like almost like Vegas temperature. And maybe you and I will be able to see each other in September.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I know that you're making a trip
This
over. Definitely.
Yeah, we can have the first live podcast or live spaces, and yeah, that would be great. And yeah, this is it for today, fellas. Thank you for listening again, and yeah, talk to you on Spaces on Friday, and have a great week, everyone.
Take care, guys.